To understand the essence of the design process, we interviewed 2 individuals involved in technical design as web developers and 2 individuals involved in artistic design as musicians and educators. We found that these designers called upon a rich variety of skills and backgrounds.
All right, my name is Brandon Kish. I'm a web developer. I program, I design interfaces. I actually also help run the help desks. I've always viewed it as kind of like a weakness that I'm not really good at one thing, but I can bring a lot of these skills together in ways I never imagined. And I think that's true for any person.
My name is Jeremy Hoover, and in the aspect of musicianship, I design songs. So I'm here. I'm a web programmer. So I do websites.
My name is Tao Phùng. I have worked as a teacher educator for 9 years, and I'm also a poet and a filmmaker. I tend to see myself as a whole. I do not like categorize myself.
My name is Anthony Freds. As a designer, I like to work from multiple perspectives.
Though Anthony did not describe his background in detail, in addition to being a web programmer, he is also a multimedia designer, a photographer, a musician, a videographer, and an educator. Diamond and Norman countered the popular axiom that necessity is the mother of invention. When we asked these individuals to show how they worked, they often described starting work independently, hypothesizing about the needs of their intended audience. Then those inventions often became needs of the users.
The design team did not ask people, what do you want, and then we're going to build it. The design team did base everything on theoretical premises that these are tools that people would use. I'm not saying that the design team knew what people wanted before they could see it, but we did approach it on theory, and then we would test that theory and we would modify that.
Jeremy and his fellow designer also described starting their work from a place of personal internal ideation. Csikszentmihalyi explained that artifacts are often the cultivation of our own psychic energy. We have a need to invest ourselves in the creative process.
Generally, I would start that out on guitar. The current band that I work with is only actually a 2-piece. I'll write them at home, just starting around, fooling around with the guitar part that I come up with. Get a couple of those parts together, then I would get together with my drummer, and then we would arrange it from there.
Csikszentmihalyi also said that creativity is any art, idea, or product that changes an existing domain or that transforms an existing domain into a new one.
He'd been in punk bands and the folk bands and the lighter bands and a metal band at one point, and any band I'd been in had pretty much been a hard rock or metal band. So, and he pushes for the abrasive stuff and I push for the lighter stuff, and it's just kind of always back and forth, and we're really never sure exactly where we're going to end. But at the same time, I think that helps kind of keep it fresh all the time, because we can kind of do both, and we never really trap ourselves in like a box of what we have to do.
Tan also started work individually. However, she spoke to Simon's idea that an artifact represents the interface between the internal self and the external community.
When I created the plan for teaching critical thinking, I worked almost individually. I asked one of my colleagues to participate. She actually helped, but not much. However, that plan is not to be used by only me, so I must create a community of teachers who are willing to teach the course.
Brandon aptly expressed how it takes the efforts of all members of his design team for something to become whole. Mishra and Kaler spoke of this notion of whole, the idea of elegance that results from the application of novelty in an effective manner.
We have varying experience and backgrounds. Our best programmer is used to programming robots. And so if there's a technical challenge, we can count on him to look at the problem and see a technical solution. We have someone that is so good at coming up with CSS and designs that he can take whatever prototype we have and make it look even better. And then I kind of wear both hats, and I sit in the middle. I have this vision for what I think will make a good experience, and it takes all 3 of us to really make it come to life.
Each of the participants clearly engaged in Boland and Colopi's design thinking as opposed to decision thinking. Tan discussed her ideation of the critical design course, experimenting with 5 different modules, but the user feedback on that model forced an evolution of that design.
When the course was first relied on the 5 parts and the contents were too heavy for them, so that's why in the following years the first and the final parts was removed from the course.
Interestingly enough, the evolution of Brandon's proudest project wasn't driven by his hands, but rather that of the users and how it was applied. Csikszentmihalyi might propose that the product became an object of social integration.
They were closing 5 elementary schools. And one aspect of the closure that was a particular sticking point was figuring out where teachers would go. And there's union complications with that because of seniority. And so they had successfully been able to come up with a procedure. So the project that was handed to me was like a status board of what jobs haven't been requested yet. And over the course of a couple days, they were going to let people come in order of seniority and pick the job or the place that they wanted to work at. And there's lots of conditions, but really we had a master display of, it was like 1 column for each school and then a row for each teaching spot that was available. So I took that and made a website that allowed them to enter that information and it would automatically appear on whoever had the website open. A group of teachers that were really low on the seniority list, they spent the first 2 days at Buffalo Wild Wings, and they actually convinced the owners to put that up on a projector, and they'd be able to see right away when a job was taken. And that was a use case I never imagined, but I had programmed it to be technically responsive.
Anthony and Jeremy echoed the idea that the most rewarding element of design, or the thing that indicated a design was successful, is that it allows the user to connect to it in some way. Csikszentmihalyi spoke of how things socialize us and even act as role models for us.
When I see somebody feel empowered because of decisions or designs that I was involved in, they feel like they can do more with at their job than they could have before, or they have more ability to affect their environment because of something that we designed. That's the most rewarding thing for me. It's comparable to when teachers see a student get it and they light up. I get to see a similar thing when I'm working with somebody and I see they realize, oh, I can do this now. It's so rewarding that you just desire to have that with everyone that you work with.
The most rewarding thing, I think, is just creating something that I'm proud of and that I feel emotionally connected to. Taking it to a show and seeing the audience react to it and take something from it too.
Finally, one of the most interesting themes that emerged was that the artifacts we design, whether they be programs, courses, songs, or interviews, take on a life of their own after we release them.
And just having to live with the consequences of it being out, in the open and seeing how people have used it for things that it wasn't intended for.
It's not only a brand, it's not only a community, it's not only a space, but a lot of things have been created. As you have just summarized, a living being has been created.
Just knowing that you created something that could last, forever, who knows, as opposed to having nothing, I guess. I could record a song in my bedroom and maybe no one will hear it, but it could, be on my computer. My family has it, for the next 100 years or something, who knows.
No, man, this is forever. I'm doing something that's forever, okay? You got to respect the process. Okay, I'm ready. Check 1. 1. Oh, there we go. Okay, we're ready. I can see it now.
Though I believe Anthony was hamming it up for the recording, I can testify that he always approaches creative projects with a perfectionist flair, as if they will stand the test of time. He's often talked about how his photographs or videos have been used at critical events such as funerals. It reminded me of reading Barthes' Camera Lucida in Photo 101. Upon looking at a photograph of himself, Barthes said, "Death is the eidos of that photograph." It seems our work as designers and our captures of others are frozen snapshots in time, often the last immortal threads connecting us to the physical world after our spiritual departures.
I have created the living being.
Thank you. Did I even hit record?